A painful and tricky question indeed, raised after the deadly strike in Sumi. Learn what that question is in our first topic, and in the second topic we discuss US softens demands on Ukraine minerals deal after Washington talks. Bloomberg reports on it. Good afternoon, my name is Henry Keane and we are UATV English-speaking Ukrainian state media in constant everyday persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for you, for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Let me present you an article by my colleague Daria Shulchenko of Kyiv Independent. They are asking a question that might be taken as even outrageous. Consider Russia's deadliest, unfortunately so far, attack on the northern eastern city of Sumi that killed 35 people, including 2 kids, injuring nearly 120. The question is, can a civilian location such as Sumi be a legitimate military target at times of war? Well, do not judge hastily. A painful question, yes, indeed. A tricky one, not so much. If you look into it deeper, into the things that then start to shape, emerging out of the fog of guilt and outrage. And this question Daria is raising not only has a right to be asked, but maybe it is obligatory to be. With all due respect to those murdered by Russia, there are us who remain alive, living at times of war that is far from being over yet. So here is Daria's questions on this painful matter, followed by some answers that I tried to deliver. As locals flocked to the city center on the morning of Palm Sunday, Russia launches 2 ballistic missiles in what is known as a double-tap attack. The second missile, fired minutes after the first one, was armed with cluster munitions, used to inflict greater devastation on civilians. The strike soon sparked controversy as a local official accused Sumi Oblast Governor Volodymyr Artyuk of inadvertently giving Russia an excuse to attack. Well, following the deadly strike, Artyom Semenikin, the mayor of the Sumi Oblast town of Konotop, accused Governor Artyuk of planning an award ceremony for the 117th Territorial Defense Brigade in Sumi on April 13th. Governor Artyuk confirmed the event was planned but denied responsibility for initiating it. He was later dismissed on April 15th. Soon after the attack, Russia's defense ministry claimed in Sumi it had struck the command of the Siversk Operational Tactical Group, though it provided no evidence. Well, no evidence. That is nothing new. Russia is Russia, slaves on the ground, oligarchs there. In the Kremlin, we know who we are fighting against. So we expect nothing else but no evidence and barbarity, so all clear with Russians. But what about us, Ukrainians? If we know we are at war, why are we not yet on the military foot in terms of the way of thinking of our mayors and people in charge? Again, not just somebody, but a Sumi Oblast governor confirmed the award ceremony that was planned, but then he denied his responsibility for it. Well, I hate to lecture you like that, governor, but who's responsible for the people of Sumi, if not the governor of Sumi? Zelensky? Trump? Jesus Christ, maybe, as it was his Palm Sunday after all, right? Well, please do not get me wrong. It was Putin who killed people in Sumi. There's no discussion of the fact. And everyone, including Putin, knows that. But why on earth would we want a public ceremony in a Ukrainian city during, I remind you, a Palm Sunday? Somehow forgetting that there have been already several cases in which Ukrainian military gatherings in residential areas have come under Russian attack, resulting in, of course, high civilian casualties, sparking what some could have called controversy, but we will call it what it is, shall we? Nationwide outrage. So all you governors, mayors, and other officials in charge of our lives in Ukraine, why not to go with all the ceremonies for God's and our own sake online? Why not ask Ukrainian Postal Service Nova Poshta to deliver the awards? It could have become quite a ceremony and safe. Well, some might say that my tone is somewhat derogatory to the governor and the memory of those who were killed. Say all you want. While I remain convinced that the well-being and lives of others should become a priority beforehand, exactly so that the memory of those killed would not take that place over afterwards. The Trump administration has lowered the payback for the provided aid. It seeks now less money. And oh, what a noble, friendly gesture of our American partners indeed. Of course, to relieve the tensions for the country on the brink of survival, such as Ukraine is, fighting for the same values actually enshrined in American Constitution. But it's a good news, right? The news comes following technical consultations between US and Ukrainian delegates in Washington on April 11th and 12th, which were meant to hash out details of the long-debated deal on Ukraine's natural wealth. While initial reporting indicated the talks began in an antagonistic atmosphere, President Volodymyr Zelensky said the round of discussions concluded in a positive mood. Speaking to Bloomberg, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that a significant progress has been made and that the deal could be signed as early as this week already. The current U.S. proposal would grant extensive control to a joint investment fund managed by Washington. The Trump administration has framed the deal as a way to recoup the billions of dollars in military and financial aid provided to Ukraine since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. While the $100 billion now that Washington now reportedly seeks is closer to Ukraine's estimates, President Volodymyr Zelensky has previously stressed that Kyiv does not see the previously provided assistance as debt, as a loan. Under the Biden administration, the US has donated the largest volumes of arms and military equipment among Ukraine's partners. However, President Donald Trump has yet to allocate any new packages and even briefly paused the ongoing assistance, as all we know, in March to pressure Kyiv into signing the minerals deal. The original framework agreement was expected to be signed during President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Washington on February 28th, but the plan fell apart exactly following the heated Oval Office dispute with Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. Zelensky left without finalizing the deal. Deputy Prime Minister for European and Euro-Atlantic Integration Olha Stefanishyna confirmed on April 14th that Ukraine had submitted a revised set of proposals during the latest round of talks, without commenting on the US reaction yet. Ukraine has since hired the American-British law firm Hogan Lovells to advise on the negotiations. Well, what can I say? Thank God I'm not a lawyer. That is how I clearly know one thing. America is obviously trying to seal two deals in one go, with Russia and with Ukraine. Well, and Russia might seem worth it, more maybe even, especially from that safe White House windows perspective. However, here is a hard truth in plain terms for all of us. Whether you see it or not, a deal with Ukraine means being partners. A deal with Russia means being partner in crime. Head of Communications at Razom We Stand, ex-Vice Mayor of Arcata, California, Jason Kirkpatrick. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Hello, thank you for having me on the program.
Right, well, the pleasure is all mine. I said good afternoon, but what time is it with you anyway now? That's the first question.
It's also in the afternoon here, yes.
Right. All right, let's go. Potential renewal of Russian gas imports. I hate to say, but it is very possible to Europe. Is there any risk for Europe? And I mean, why they're doing that? But that will be another question. But what are exactly the risks for European society at the moment and economics?
Yeah, well, what people should be concerned about is their security. I mean, I'm talking about Western Europe now, as the theme here is this discussion about whether or not to open or reopen Nord Stream to bring gas from Russia back into Western Europe. That's this topic that's on the table, or it's not on the table. It's just in the rumor mill. We hear that some U.S. officials are meeting, maybe having secret meetings in Switzerland with representatives from Gazprom or Russia somehow. But if Europe and Western Europe wants to worry about their own energy security, wants to worry about their own affordability, what they have to stop doing is having these ridiculous kind of flirtations with Russia. Because what we've seen in the past is that when Putin wants the gas flow to Western Europe, he has done that in the past. It's in his economic advantage. It's his economic advantage to do that. But right after the war, the main full-scale war on Ukraine started in late 2022. He turned off the gas, and Germany and other nations in Western Europe were kind of panicking. So we see that Russia and Putin are just absolutely unreliable partners just when it comes to the topic of energy security. The other topic, I think, is affordability. So one thing they've been talking about is if there would be some repairs to Nord Stream or turn it back on somehow. You're talking about fixing this pipeline at the bottom of the sea will cost billions. And what is actually better for energy security, what is better for affordability, is just to continue the support of the cheapest energy sources, which are solar and wind.
Well, I mean, you said we are the only one in the room, me and you, who actually see that it's a very strange way, just neglecting security. Buying gas and oil from Russia, then say that Russia is the criminal. It puts the money in its war chest. Well, of course. But I mean, no gas and oil alternatives but Russian gas and oil in Europe. Are there any viable alternative energy sources that could fully replace Russian gas in Europe?
Well, right now, Nord Stream is not flowing at all, and things seem to be working fine. So we're in April. We've gone through this winter in Western Europe. We've gone through this winter with gas levels being just fine. It's 2025 now. It was the same situation at the end of the winter 2024. Same at the end of the winter 2023. So things seem to be going pretty well, actually, in Western Europe. Trump wants Europe to buy more U.S. gas. They're having these talks. Okay. In America, the price of gas is much cheaper. The price of heating is much cheaper. So this is in discussion, but let's look at what's cheapest, right? So we've seen that, for example, in Germany, right after the war, the full-scale war in Ukraine started, Germany spent billions massively upping and subsidizing, paying out LNG gas infrastructure. Now the reports have said in the last 2 years, oh, wow, it looks like we're not even going to need that. So within 5 or 10 years, clean energy is going to easily be replacing the need that's there. That's what they're saying. That's what the officials are saying. That's what the gas companies are even saying, that this production capacity increase isn't needed. And these are massive subsidies that the government, the taxpayers are giving out to these energy companies. So let's remember also, who makes money off this, right?
Right, exactly.
There's nobody actually selling this. Yeah, there's nobody selling this.
That was my next question.
Right,
yeah. Pardon me for interrupting.
They don't have a lobby, right? The sun doesn't have a lobby. The wind, it doesn't have a lobby. Who has a lobby? Gas companies, energy companies, and they want to keep people addicted to their products. That's how they make money. So they keep putting out fake information saying it's the only way for energy security. But as we see, what we need is a good, healthy energy mix. That's what we need right now. In the long term, everybody's going to be driving electric cars. In 5, 10, 20 years, we're seeing this progression. The benzene, the gasoline cars, diesel cars, they're right now on the cusp of being outmoded, outdated. And so this trend is happening to clean energy, and we just need to back it and boost it, and Western Europe should not be pushing to restart Nord Stream or gas from Russia in any way.
Well, I mean, thank you for your answer. I mean, very detailed as usual. But according to your report, resuming gas imports could bring like about 5 billion, 4.7 billion annually. And we all know that this money will go to Putin's war chest against Ukraine. And everybody knows that's how it goes. Is there anybody in the West who is advocating against this in Europe, do you know someone who says no to Russian gas and oil and whose voice is loud enough?
Yes, well, it's divisive. So it's not a winning argument on either side right now. It's in discussion in some quarters. Let me just talk about the biggest economic country in Europe, which is Germany. Even if their economy is not as strong in the last couple of years, The main party, as a lot of viewers will know, is the CDU, the Christian Democrats. That's the party of the Chancellor. Friedrich Merz
Right.
is the main power there. And his party is split. His party is split on this issue. They're in a coalition government with the Social Democrats, who in the past, in the past years, they've been leading the government and they've said no to Nord Stream. And now inside the CDU, there's a discussion. But one of their main leaders, his name is Kiesewetter, he put out a tweet last week saying nobody should be pushing for Nord Stream. This is ridiculous. Number one, like you said, we're talking about sending, I believe it's 4.7 billion euros to Russia every year.
Exactly.
If we're reopening these pipelines. And this is, let's just talk about German self-interest or Western Europe's self-interest. Not even the human catastrophe that is happening in Ukraine funded by this money. But if we're just talking about German self-interest, everyone in Germany knows that Russia has continually acted to sabotage military installations in Germany. A few years ago, there was what's called an Auftragmord, a contract killing done in the main park, the Central Park, Tiergarten. This is staying at the hands of Russia. So it's, in this case, would be Germany paying to have Russia sabotage its own nation. We see this sabotage, this interference from Russia all across Western Europe, interfering in elections, this sabotage, sending drones around to scout military locations. This is happening across Europe. Military installations don't know where these drones are coming from. And let me talk about what specifically, you mentioned this figure, 4.7 billion. That's what this estimate that we've come across, or we've worked out. Estimate is that the turning the gas pipeline on will give Russia 4.7 billion.
Right.
When we did an analysis with partners, we see that this would buy in 1 year 5.1 million artillery shells, over 104,000 drones, 1,700 Iskander-M ballistic missiles, 1,100 T-90 tanks, 60 fighter jets, type Su-35. Politicians need to realize that this money has a human cost. It's not just some figure over there. And all of you in Ukraine know that all too well. You don't need this told to you, but we need to keep putting this out so that the politicians understand. Everyone has seen these videos for the last few years. What happens when a drone lands on a flat of apartments? What happens when it lands on an energy production facility? And everybody that advocates pushing for more Russian gas consumption in Western Europe is in effect contributing to this situation where they're sending money that helps end up costing lives in Ukraine. And these politicians need to be made aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when people are, that there was a very good cartoon. I forgot the name of it, but it was, I believe it was Madagascar, and that or was it Dory the fish that forgets immediately everything that happens with the fish in like 5 seconds. It's the epitome of Europe, isn't it? We're shooting ourselves in the leg, just forgetting about, another 5 billion. But the oil and gas, we need it. No, we don't. But I understand. This is capitalism. This is money. We all force this system to be viable, spending money on it. But what can we do about it? Our current sanctions against Russia's energy sector, are they in full force? Or we do really have a room for more pressure, do you think?
We have room for some more pressure, and where that could be exactly is getting Europe to get off Russian gas, get off LNG. We hear more and more about these shadow tankers that Russia buys, these old, sometimes falling apart or rusty ships that they've crashed. They are uninsurable on occasion. They have fake insurance that are organized by Russian shell companies that don't actually exist. So what we need are stronger sanctions and sanctions enforcement. So countries like Denmark, where these old ships are sailing by all the time, end up with massive oil slicks and oil spills all over their coast. This could heavily damage the fishing industry. We're talking about all the coasts of the Baltic Sea, the EC. So Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands. This is a big could be a big cost. I grew up in the USA, and I remember very clearly when the US Exxon Valdez, a ship from Exxon Mobil, it crashed, and the fishing industry was just devastated for years. So it's in their own self-interest for these countries in Europe. They need to do this, and they need to act now to put stronger sanctions on and enforce them.
Well, exactly. I mean, shadow fleet, how do you find shadows? Put more light on it. I mean, I've been born and raised in Latvia. So our neighbor Estonia just recently arrested the tanker. That's all he did. I mean, just arrested the tanker, that's it. It's a piece of junk. It poses an enormous danger for everyone. And it won't stop Russia, but I know what I'm talking about because we've been doing a research together with the European Space Agency. We've been hunting down these tankers. We found them, but there's nothing we can do about them because there's 1,000 of them. So, but if every country will just arrest a couple of tankers a month, I think that's something.
Yes, and as we've mentioned before, I mean it's not just a black and white situation, right? There's a lot of shades of gray. So if Russia has 1,000 shadow fleet, 1,000 tankers in its shadow fleet, but you have the Coast Guard of Latvia, Estonia, Denmark, everyone goes out, checks the ship, checks the papers, checks that they have proper insurance, and if we're removing what, like you said, a few a day, a few a week, this starts to add up. And as I mentioned this number, I'm looking at these numbers in front of me. What 4.7 billion buys? It buys 5 million artillery shells. So
crazy.
If 10% of that gone, we're talking about 500 less artillery shells. And as people in Ukraine know, one less or 100,000 less artillery shells can save lives. And that's very important.
Well, what can I say? Be Estonia, Europe. Find balls to do things. Act, and thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for the interview. And Razum we stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you want to see more of our report, have a look at our website, razumwestand.org. We've released this report, just a short 3-page one just a few days ago.
Please,
and some press has been paying attention.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a good one. Goodbye. Well, that's it for tonight. My name is Henry Keane, and we are UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media, in constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. We ask of you something in return, please. Like, share, and comment. Your voice matters, as it in turn helps Ukrainian voice to be heard globally. Please stay safe, and see you soon. Goodbye.